record. All right, so why don't we go ahead. Welcome to everyone. Thank you for being here this hot Friday morning. Whew. Another week is coming to an end. Faith, do you wanna just open us in prayer and we can go from there?
All right, let's do that. Let's come together for a moment and just take one deep breath. And let's remember that the breath within us is a gift from God. Breath and spirit constantly move across our lives. Oh God, we come to this time where we wrestle with one another and we wrestle with the truths that guide our lives. And we're grateful. We're grateful for new insights and new opportunities and new learnings. But Lord, help us to remember also in the midst of our striving and struggling and wrestling and getting things done, that we are also called to rest in your love. So help us to move through our days with a sense of balance, a balance of being and doing. Help us never to be afraid to stop and turn to you. Keep us faithful not only in serving you, but keep us faithful in being with you. And may this time together today enrich our minds and our spirits and be refreshment for our souls. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. That was great.
Yes, absolutely. Amen. All right, so here we are. Let me pull up. I put some questions in the chat before I put in a bunch of links to things that might be helpful to folks. But we just wanted to open up this.
I'm not sure you sent the questions, Dana. All I see are the links.
I think I sent them before everybody got on. So
maybe they're sorry.
That's okay. I'll repaste them. I can't tell if I
sent. Oh, there they are. I see it.
Yeah,
now.
you get it.
All right, so this week we did chapter 5, reclaiming Sabbath time. So we just want to kind of open this up with, how would you finish this sentence? The Sabbath is. The Sabbath is.
You.
Go ahead, Carol.
It was the day I always did my lesson plans for the next week at school.
The Sabbath is the day that was always in my lesson plans. Excellent. Lenore?
That's a good point to say, what was it before I read this chapter? And
we didn't qualify. You can say whatever you want. You can have multiple things.
Eleanor.
Well, I always learned that the Sabbath is a day of rest.
The Sabbath is a day of rest. Yeah. All right.
What did that mean?
Well, for me growing up, it meant we went to church and then my mom and dad after church did nothing. They laid in their pajamas. They didn't cook. They didn't clean. They didn't go to the store. We didn't do anything. So the day of rest.
See, I went to school in Kansas City, Missouri during the time of the Blue Laws. Anybody remember the Blue Laws? The Blue Laws were, you could go into a store for essentials, milk, food, whatever, but there were certain aisles that were draped with cloths. You couldn't buy anything on Sunday, and stores weren't open, and movie theaters and everything. It was
no alcohol.
An interesting time. No alcohol. You had to stock up Saturday night.
Yep. Michelle, go ahead.
You know, reading this chapter brought up a question for me. On Sunday we do things like Light Your World, Faith Flicks, the Forum. I mean, is that considered resting?
Sunday is not a Sabbath. Sorry.
It was your busiest day of the week.
And it is not a Sabbath for clergy and professional religious leaders. They will all tell you that they need their Sabbath some other time. Now, it may be for some laity who can, within the midst, set aside a time for church and then set aside time for other things. But
The Sabbath is different.
different.
Mhm. No matter what, of course, I'm relating it to Sunday. It's hard for me to separate it. But Sabbath is a different way of spending your time. That's the difference I see. And for me on Sunday, even though at this stage of my life, every day is just like any other day, this Sunday is different. I feel different. I do different things. It's not as like my normal weekdays.
I think Patty and then Barbara. Go ahead, Patty, and then Barbara.
Okay, quick comment. Before I read the book, I had just thought of it as, well, it meant Sunday, you rest. And I found it interesting in today's work life. I actually had to tell my employer that I do not work on Sundays. So they'd stop inviting me to meetings and ask me to do things. But I really enjoyed reading this, and I took away after reading it that I can have a Sabbath time any day. And I like that idea that I can give myself permission to stop and just be in communion with God, or whatever I need at the moment. But I liked having that permission now to think of it as a any day.
I like that. All right, Barbara and then Paul.
So one thing is, I always thought the Sabbath is a Saturday and it's a Jewish thing. I always thought our rest day is Sunday, and I always thought it was the seventh day. Like God made the world 6 days, He worked the seventh, He rest. So this thing, what they said, something, it's the first day. I heard that the very first time in my life, that resting comes before working, because there's, I mean, even in German, they have all these sayings, and one of the sayings is erst die Arbeit, dann das Vergnügen. So first the work and then the fun. So you first work and then you rest, right? And so that was totally new for me to be at first. The other thing what always annoyed me is, because I saw Saturday and Sunday as a weekend, it's at the end of the week. That's why I don't have these hanging calendars, because they mess up the front and the back into a weekend. I have the table calendars because they go from Monday to Sunday nicely. When I have something over the weekend, I can write it together and don't need weird stuff. And I mean, for me, the Sunday thing is, of course, I mean, in Germany, I don't know, it changed perhaps a little bit, but usually the stores were open Monday through Friday from like 8 to 5 or something. Saturday from like 8 to noon, and Sunday they were closed. And I mean, so you couldn't even go in the store. I mean, you'd had to do some other things or nothing or whatever. And I mean, I really realized that when I once took a class that was an evening and Saturday class. So it was Thursday evening, Friday evening, and Saturday the day. And if I didn't pay attention and bought something to eat on Wednesday, I would have to starve till Monday. So there.
Thank you, Barbara. Interesting. All right, Paul, go ahead.
So So Sabbath is an intentional rest in order to restore a relationship with God.
Okay.
And probably the best practice is the practice of presence of God.
Mm.
And I wanted to add on to Barbara's. I don't know if you read the extra pages I sent out on Monday, but that talks about, for me, it talks about why Sunday is the first day of the week. And I don't think I knew that.
Well, and Sunday is not Sabbath. And the Christians understood that. Sabbath was the Jewish holy day.
Right.
But Sunday was originally the sun's day. And so every Sunday was considered resurrection. That's why when you go to Lent, you remember how we always get confused because it's 40 days, not counting Sundays. So the Sabbath is the Sunday as we celebrate is distinctly different than Sabbath.
Yeah.
We just kind of conflated them into.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Do you know in Israel they have Sabbath elevators?
Oh yeah, I know. I was there.
You
That's
in the Orthodox, particularly if it's Orthodox, and when we were there on a tour, pushing the button is considered work. So on the Sabbath, the elevators automatically stop at each floor.
Yep.
So that you don't have to push the button.
Oh, it's
Now, I
like
will say-
Paternoster,
what?
like a paternoster. A paternoster is just going on and on and on.
Yeah, well, I guess that could be it. I
Yeah,
will say
because when you get in, it just, when the doors close, it immediately.
Yeah, when
I
we were
think
there,
that's
when we were there 2 years ago, there's both elevators. There's an elevator, so if you are Orthodox and you are observing true, then yeah, but then there was other elevators that just went, you had to pick, like it will tell you, there's like a plaque.
Sabbath.
Not that on Sunday you rather should take the stairs to get some exercise.
That's work.
I don't know if any of you have been in Beverly Hills, West Los Angeles area on Saturdays, but I had relatives living over there and I was frequently there on a Saturday. And it was really a beautiful experience to see families, hundreds of them, going to the synagogue, all in attire, appropriate traditional attire, and but they had to walk to the synagogue.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it was a beautiful thing to see them just everywhere on all the streets. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a wonderful experience if you ever have the opportunity to, if you're invited to a Shabbat on Friday night to practice that, it's very beautiful.
So are
Well,
you saying,
Donna, you were seeing people walk in Los Angeles, which is, unusual as well. I used to live in Fairfax, and
Yeah, right.
yeah, it was amazing because everybody was out walking and wearing black coats on a hot day, but everybody was out walking around.
The men with them.
so are you saying,
Hold on, Barbara, let Jennifer go ahead, Jennifer. She has her hand raised. Hold on, go ahead.
Thanks. One of the things I admire the most about the Methodist Church from my experience is that when I was in high school, instead of just teaching in our Sunday school class, this is the one way to believe, we actually went and visited. We went to a Jewish service, we went to a Muslim temple, Catholic church, we just got to experience so many different religions and really learn about the commonality, of it all. And now I have Jewish members in my family, and those beliefs just enrich my life. So today is beginning of Sukkot.
Yeah.
And, every, they do every Friday, we Shabbat Shalom. And it's really a beautiful culture
Yeah. It's definitely a gift when you have the ability to do that. I totally agree. Barbara, go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering if Beverly Hills and West Los Angeles is mainly Jewish or something.
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know the demographics.
There's a predominant, though there was.
It was at one time. It's transitioning over a lot to Iranians and more of a mixture. But it was a traditionally Jewish area. That's why the Los Angeles Country Club out there did not allow Jewish members until the 1960s, I think it was.
Oh yeah,
so there were some others.
Yeah, and there was a large Orthodox community, around that particular area too. So
Right.
Specifically Orthodox, so they would celebrate it that way.
All right, so let's look at the next thing is and some of you have already said this, what new insights did you discover about Sabbath keeping in the chapter? And I think somebody already said, I think it was Patty that said, I realized I didn't have to do it on Sunday. It can be different days, depending on things. Was there anything else that either stood out from you from the chapter, or maybe even the extra information that I gave on Monday or from Wednesdays with faiths? And if not, then there's a couple other questions, but we wanted to just open it up to see if there was anything interesting. Carol, go ahead.
I've been retired, for a few years. After I retired from teaching, a year or two later, I began taking care of my granddaughter every day. And so now she's in school, I'm kind of basking in Sabbath all the time, in a way. But every morning, it's really important for me. I just like to, but I go outside, sit in my backyard, and I think I Sabbath a little bit every day. Mm-hmm. I miss going to church in the flesh, but since I'm not doing that, Sunday is a little bit different, but I guess I basically Sabbath a little bit every day, and I really, really like that.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Yeah, very nice. What about anybody else? Anything else come out? Questions that you may have? Paul, go ahead.
So I really like the little diagram on the bottom of page 72, secular rhythm, work, vacation.
Yeah.
And sacred rhythm, Sabbath time, vocation. Vocation is basically speak, right? We're called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it means calling.
Yeah.
Like, what is your vocation?
So the result of Sabbath is to sense better what your calling is.
Although the definition is actually a strong feeling of suitability for a particular career or occupation.
It's not how the church understands vocation.
But
the odd thing, though, is that of all the things we're learning to reclaim, a sense of vocation for the laity may be among the most important, so that we stop thinking in terms of career, vacation, work, time off, but that we start thinking about that vocation, that call that governs all of our life together. And that is as significant as the vocations and calls we celebrate in clergy and others.
Yeah, Thompson
celebrate that. We don't often celebrate the call of the laity.
Thompson talks again and again about the level of anxiety in our modern society, the drivenness. She says she really hates driven, whatever, rather than, I guess, called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patty, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, that just made an idea pop into my head regarding vocation. When you tend to meet new people, the first thing they ask usually is, "Oh, what do you do?" And that's kind of how we define ourselves.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be interesting if we met people and we said, "Oh, I love to talk to other people about God," or "I love to," it's like, who am I? I'm a Christian. And kind of focus on that vocation.
It's true, or even anything, but you're absolutely right. When we meet somebody, like, "Oh, what do you do?" Like, huh? And we don't mean like, "What do you do in your life?" We mean like, "What's your job?" Right?
Yeah, and then when you retire, your definition of who you are,
What did
for
you do?
many people no longer exists. Because you say to me, "What do you do?" And I go, "I'm retired." No, that's not who I am. But when everything is tied up with what I do and my own sense of worth, what happens when I can't do that anymore?
Yeah, and I would argue that I think stay-at-home moms who have come out of the workforce feel the same thing. Like they feel like, okay, I was working and now I'm staying at home, and people are like, "Well, what do you do?" "Oh, you just stay at home with your kids. Like, you don't have your job anymore." It's like, are you right? What? So yeah, I get that. All right, Barbara, go ahead.
Well, the thing is, I mean, even if you, let's say, ask it differently, it's like, okay, if you say don't want to know what they work, then you ask, what are your hobbies or something. But it's still the same thing. It's like you kind of are what you do, because usually you try to find a job. That's what your vocation, right? And when it goes back to vocation, so you hopefully are your vocation. So, and it's really hard to ask somebody something about himself what is not something that they do, because I mean, yeah, I can tell you what my job was, and I can tell you what my hobbies are or what I pass my time with, but it's always something doing. I mean, how can you phrase something? "Oh, I want to know you. How are you?" Or how
What's your passion? What's your passion? These days, what's your passion?
Question to ask. It's a
That's a
safer
good-
question to ask what you do, or it's
But
not.
what the passion is, yeah, it's what you do or what are your hobbies. It all goes kind of, to me, it's all one big blob together.
Donna has her hand up. Go ahead, Donna. Oh wait, hold. Unmute yourself. I accidentally remuted you. There you go.
I had several experiences of being called a minister's wife. And the one I remember most is when I was walking back to work from lunch one day with one of my coworkers, and behind me were some gentlemen, using the term loosely, who were talking, and one of them decided to brag about something he knew about me. So I overheard him say, "And Donna's a minister's wife." And I turned around and I said, "No, I'm not." And he was thrown into, he was so upset because he thought he knew something that nobody else knew, and I denied it. So when we got back to the office and I went into his office and I says, "I just wanted to know if you're a teacher's husband."
Yes.
That was just one of many.
Oh, Donna, that's beautiful.
All right, so let's go on. If you have the book in front of you, you can turn to page 71, or I invite you to turn to page 71 if you so choose. And the author we're going to talk about grace and Sabbath. The author says, Sabbath is a primary experience of grace, the gift that enables our human journey day upon day, week upon week. How do you connect to that statement, or even thinking about Sabbath is a primary experience of grace? What is it? What does that mean, a primary experience of grace? And I don't know, Faith, if you want to say something, or you want to see how they respond?
Yeah, let's see how, have you ever linked those two concepts? Because grace, just to remind you, is generally undeserved gift,
Mm-hmm.
something we receive, not something we do. And so I just thought that was a remarkable reminder for us. How is Sabbath a gift of grace?
June and I think Michelle. Go ahead, June. And then Michelle. Okay. Oh wait. Oh yeah, there you go. Okay.
Well, I kept getting reminded of things I've read about Mother Teresa and how important her daily meditation was to her in order to give her the strength and energy to do what she did on a daily basis. And, you know, I think Carol mentioned that with her morning meditations in the backyard, and I've certainly experienced that with centering prayer or with different yoga meditations and stuff. It, you know, my Mother Teresa always said she couldn't have done what she did if she didn't have those daily moments of grace, I guess.
Mm. Michelle. Oh wait, go ahead. Sorry, I muted you. Go ahead, unmute you. There you go. Yep.
I guess for me, the grace part is the ability to cease without feeling you have to work all the time. You know, that you can take that pause and not feel guilt over it.
Yeah, she talks about guilt. Yeah.
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 You know, that Puritan work ethic.
Yeah, absolutely. Willeen and then Barbara. Go ahead, Willeen. And I see Jonathan down there. Okay, go ahead, Willeen.
I never thought of the Sabbath as a gift, but now thinking back in Genesis, can you hear that lawnmower?
A little bit, but you're good. We hear you.
You know, Genesis shows us that God planned that as a gift to all of us right from the beginning, and that's pretty special when you think of it that way.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Barbara, and then I think Jonathan had his hand up. Go ahead, Barbara.
Well, I was just thinking more or less it's a gift of grace because that's the day then, well, in our case, more the Sunday, where you don't have to labor to sustain yourself, but you can use it for relaxation and connecting to God and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan?
My experience is that I'll be having a wonderful relationship with the Lord and my inner friendship, prayer and that sort of thing. And then I'll get busy doing something else. And I'll go off thinking about something and I'll realize that I'm not thinking about the Lord. I'm away from the Lord. I've been doing my own thing. And I come back in prayer and I say, well, Lord, I've been gone, but I'm back. And I always get a welcome back feeling. And the point is, yes, you can be away for a while and it's okay. You know, it's part of the relationship. Maybe that's why we have a Sabbath given to us by the Lord to let us know that it's okay to be away for a while. But always remember the Lord and come back. That's the answer to me.
I think Barbara had, when she said, we don't have to sustain ourselves. Okay, we have permission. And for me, and it's what I forget because I'm a control freak, and I like to take charge. And one of the gifts that the Sabbath gives is, at least for me, is a reminder that I'm not in control. I'm not God. It does not all depend on me. And even if I can't sustain myself, I really like that image. If I can't sustain myself, God will. I mean, that's where I think it becomes also an act of absolute trust. To be able to just say, I'm not running the world right now.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I think she said it in the book that, you know, if God can give God a rest, who am trying to think. I can't take, like, who am I? My heavens to Betsy. Like, God does, and I am not better than God, and God does it. So what's going on here?
And Jesus did it
And Jesus did it.
regularly.
Yeah. So, yeah, interesting. Well, that kind of does get us into how is trust in God related to Sabbath time in your experience? Although I think, Ruth, you had something. So if you want to go ahead, but you can think about that too. How is trust in God? It's hard.
Yeah, wasn't there something, there's some story about one of the popes or somebody, and he was praying and there was all these things.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Can you?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I think I think the Pope's first name was Antonio, but I'm not sure, who was praying to God and laying all the things and heard God say, "You can go to sleep now. I've got it."
Yep.
Which is basically what it is. You know, stop. You know, any of you ever go through that in the middle of the night?
Every night.
Yeah, where it's like, oh my God, and I didn't do this, and I haven't done that, and what if I do this, and maybe I did this wrong, and I didn't do, and that was kind of the thing, Ruth. That was the story, where it was kind of like, you can go to sleep now.
I think I need that desperately, and I'm going to try using it
Does
tonight.
God manufacture it in a pill that I can take before I go to bed?
Yeah, it's called prayer.
Do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a problem, you just pray to God before you go to sleep, and often enough, then you have the solution in the morning. So
Yeah, except I pray to God, ask for the solution, and then try to figure it out the rest of the night.
yeah, well, no, then you give it over. Just give it over.
Easier said than done.
Easier said than done. I totally agree with you. I try to give it over. Then I end up dreaming about crazy stuff. Oh my heavens.
But yeah, you can dream through it too, because that often also gives you a solution. Partially dream, partially in the morning.
That's true.
That is very true. It's very true.
Maybe we need to see that time, that dream time, as prayer.
Oh yeah. I know. Although some of my dreams are a little disturbing. I don't really want to see this.
Well, there's a lot of disturbing stuff happening in the world.
Part of the problem, though, I think, Paul, is that, speaking for me, not necessarily for any of you, prayer sometimes becomes work.
Yeah.
Struggle, find the time, struggle to have the word, struggle, wonder if I'm saying it, wonder if I'm doing it right. Have I prayed enough? Did I pray for enough? So that prayer itself, instead of being that gift, if you're not already doing it, a habit that mark the holy time that we're living in.
Michelle had a good idea in our group.
Yeah.
She said that she started keeping a gratitude journal.
Mm-hmm.
And she keeps it by the bed, and every night before she goes to sleep, she writes three things she's grateful for that day. I'm going to try that.
Ray, go ahead. I think you had your hand up.
Birds.
Ray.
Yeah, I'm already thinking of the challenge, and I'm already thinking that I do, every other day. I've been, since March, I've been doing a daily run, 45 or 50 minutes, but I've had these conversations with John Shaver, and I think that he will tell you that during his run is when he does, some of this thinking that you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, he'll tell you that, and maybe, based on your suggestion, I'll start doing that myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you're running in the morning because it's hot.
Well, I was running most any time of the day, but yeah, since it got hot a few weeks ago, I try to make sure I do it in the morning. Some days I just can't, I just have to get it done in the afternoon, but I've survived the heat.
So what are you thinking? What was this supposed to be? During the run, you're supposed to thinking about what?
Praying.
Pardon?
During the run, I know that John Shaver prays. He thinks about the community. He thinks about various people. I mean, also as you're running, don't trip over your feet while you're doing it, but one can look and see something you've never seen before and give thanks. One can pass a house with somebody you know and lift that people up in prayer. And the run becomes an offering and a gift to God.
Yeah, I know you.
Faith, when you and Dana had a couple of YouTube videos, I was able to, connect up my headphones, and I hardly ever do that. I hardly, I don't run with music or anything like that, but I hooked up my headphones and I went through, 2 or 3 of your YouTube videos, and accidentally, a couple of them I went through twice. So.
Thank you, Ray.
What you were running and watching the YouTube?
Listening.
Just
listening to it.
All right, so I do want to be
Faith
mindful.
and Dana audio tapes, yes.
Huh?
Faith and Dana audio tapes, yes.
So it's 11, and it is, a time boundary. So if you do have to move on with your day, be well, peace be with you, and I hope you find some Sabbath time.
No, wrong, Dana. No. I hope that you intentionally take some Sabbath time.
Yes, that's what
because it's there. But we did talk about that in the breakout room as well, that just stopping and doing, just sitting outside doing nothing is not Sabbath time. There has to be an intentionality to your communion with God.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there has to be an intentionality to finding the time and setting the time aside. I still think my brain can just just go on hold, and that's Sabbath time for my brain.
As long as you invite God into it.
I always do.
Yeah, I really think this is different from mindfulness in a way. It's different from meditation. It's different from, that's what I'm thinking, is that, this isn't about just, okay, I'm going to be at peace here and I'm going to get some rest and take care of myself. No, it's, for me, Sabbath time, and maybe I'm wrong, is you're taking the time to make a connection with God and let God come with grace and make a connection with you. And so that's the time that I can open myself to all of a sudden seeing and hearing and listening. And that is just a wonderful renewal. It's like this song with the rain that comes down, and so it's different from just, like in meditation or in, for example, yoga, you clear your mind and you center yourself and all of that, and that's valuable. But for me, that's really not what I'm thinking is a Sabbath time, which is much more of a connecting or being open to a connection with God. So that's different. Am I not getting this concept right?
That's perfect.
I actually don't agree. I mean, I think that I agree in the sense that I think that's a piece of it, but I go back to Eleanor in the beginning said it was a day that her parents walked around in their pajamas and just chilled out. And I think for me right now, especially given the world, like every hour of every day, I feel like I spend, it's just heavy, right? And so sometimes I literally need to veg out on Netflix. And I think that is a Sabbath time for my brain. And I there are times where I am in communion and communicating with God, and I think that's a Sabbath time. But I also think God wants me just to exist in the space that I'm in and not worry about anything. I think God wants me to have that experience, and I don't see that there's anything, like, I think that's okay.
I think it's okay, but why do you have to name it Sabbath? I mean, I guess I think that's the difference. I think there is Sabbath time, which is an intentional holy time. I think there's time to chill out. I think there's time to put your brain in and then watch cartoons and anything that gives you a rest and an escape. And I think that's okay.
But that's it. If Sabbath is prayer time for me, and time for me to communion and communion and communication, versus Sabbath is rest.
No.
I've always said Sabbath is rest. And so what I'm saying is Sabbath is both things.
No, I don't think so. I think rest is important, and I think it's also a gift.
On this.
So I wanted to comment on Ruth's thing. Mindfulness is a practice that brings you to rest, but it's not the end. There's an intentionality that through mindfulness, you're going to reach a place. And I think the bridge is gratitude. That when you've reached this place of peacefulness, there's a gratefulness. And then from that, there's the intentionality of connecting, of reconnecting, right?
Yeah, so it's part of it then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
mindfulness is powerful, but it's a part of it. It's not the whole of it.
but it doesn't just stay with you. It's not just about you. Right?
In the long run, yes, I think.
Oh, wait, hold on.
I think there has to be a flow from that because the response of the calling is now turn out to the community.
Right, and that's what I'm trying. Yeah. It's part of that. Yeah.
Chapter 6 is next week. Nancy just wrote that out. Practice of self-emptying.
Yeah, which is going to be interesting because it leads into this. It's really a continuation of this discussion. Some of the same things will be in effect. We used to call it fasting. That's what the chapter is about.
Maybe it should be called slowing.
There is that certain sense. Richard Foster has a wonderful chapter on fasting in the modern age, and in one of his books, and some of the things we need to be doing.
Oh, is it in Celebration of Discipline?
I believe it is.
So I have it.
The Simple Life or whatever, but I think he has something where he talks about fasting from the TV and fasting from.
Yep. I have it.
No telephones at the dinner table.
I haven't read that fasting. Okay, I haven't read it, but I'll read it, and then what I'll do is I can send some of you parts of this chapter, and it will be in addition to.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have that. This is this is another book. I haven't done this one, but it also comes with a study guide. Richard Foster. This is a really popular book at Duke for.
It's a very, very good book.
Yeah.
We actually had him out here a number of years ago to do retreats. We did one here in Santa Barbara, and then we did one in Arizona when the two conferences were together.
All right. Anything else? Any other interesting thoughts? Bye, Nancy. Bye, Jennifer.
Can I ask a totally unrelated question?
This is the time.
We got those letters